Now, before we get into that new bill, let's go over what it means to be a sanctuary state, since we know a lot of people are talking about this, given the recent federal crackdown on immigration. We recently got this email from a viewer named Mike. He asks, "I'm not an Oregon native, which is a large population of the state. Could I get a clarification on sanctuary status of Portland and Oregon from a policy standpoint?" Mike, thanks for the question. Let's take a look at how we got here. Oregon became a sanctuary state back in 1987, the first state in the country to pass a statewide law. Here's what it means. The law prohibits local law enforcement and government from helping federal immigration authorities, basically refusing to cooperate with federal immigration officers, and if they show up and start asking questions. The law has been updated and strengthened several times since then. Back in 2021, the Sanctuary Promise Act was passed, meaning law enforcement agencies cannot ask someone about their immigration status or get involved with federal immigration enforcement efforts. According to the State Department of Justice, this is all in an effort to make sure Oregon protects, quote, the safety, dignity, and human rights of all Oregonians. Now, since President Donald Trump took office last month, he's issued a slew of immigration-related executive orders, including declaring a national emergency, sending the military to the border, and attempting to end birthright citizenship. The president also wants to restrict federal funds and potentially take legal action against sanctuary cities like Portland. That's led to lawsuits, one of which the city of Portland has joined. Here's Mayor Keith Wilson 4 days ago.
Portland is committed to upholding both state laws and our values. We are prepared to make our case in court and ensure that our city remains a sanctuary for all community members.
Governor Tina Kotek is also standing firm in her support of the state's sanctuary laws and immigrant communities. Here's a video she posted online late last month.
Hi, Oregon. Governor Kotek here. Our immigrant communities are Oregon communities. Immigrants are integral to the culture and success of Oregon. I will uphold Oregon's sanctuary promise laws, laws that were passed with almost unanimous bipartisan support in the 1980s. I support keeping families together, and I believe that people who are born here are Americans. I support the collective effort of 22 states, including Oregon, to sue the Trump administration over their attempt to end birthright citizenship. To our immigrant friends and neighbors, as your governor, I see you, I stand with you, and I've got your back. You are Oregon and a part of what makes our state such a fantastic place to call home.
Like Governor Kotek, cities across the state are touting their sanctuary status. On the City of Portland's website, right there, you can see at the top of the screen in purple are links to sanctuary city resources from the city's immigrant and refugee program and ways to report hate crimes and violations of sanctuary laws. However, other Oregon cities and counties have tried to challenge those laws, like Coos County on the coast. Earlier this month, the Board of Commissioners there voted on a proclamation that would have allowed local law enforcement to work with federal immigration officers by asking local law enforcement to notify Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, as soon as possible before they release an undocumented person and hold them so federal immigration agencies can take custody of them. That effort was voted down 2-1. And in Cottage Grove, down in Lane County, the city lost a lawsuit last year after their police force worked with federal immigration officers violating state sanctuary laws. They were ordered to stop working with federal immigration officers and retrain city employees and police to comply with state sanctuary laws. So now that we have an understanding of what being a sanctuary state means, let's head to Salem. Right there is a live look at the state capitol, where the legislative session is underway now. On Monday, House Republicans introduced House Bill 3551 to, quote, modernize Oregon's sanctuary law. It would allow local law enforcement agencies, the Oregon State Police, and corrections officers to work with federal authorities to identify and remove undocumented immigrants convicted of violent felonies, felony sex offenses, and Class A misdemeanors. Now, here are some common Class A misdemeanors in Oregon: reckless driving, driving under the influence, prostitution, fourth-degree assault, the least serious of assault charges, and theft in the second degree, meaning stealing property valued between $100 and $1,000. The first reading of the bill was earlier today in the House of Representatives. It's been referred to the Speaker's desk, the next step in a bill's long journey through the legislature. All right, now we want to bring in one of the chief sponsors of this bill, Republican Representative Alex Skarlatos. He represents part of Southern Oregon in the Douglas County area. Representative, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Okay,
so you're one of the three chief sponsors of this bill. Tell us what's behind this and why now?
Now because Oregon is doubling down on their sanctuary state status. And frankly, I don't think that's good for anybody in the state of Oregon, especially people in migrant communities. All this bill does is kind of set a very low bar, saying that local law enforcement or any law enforcement agency in the state of Oregon can, they don't have to, but they can work with ICE if they want to, only for what I said about felonies, misdemeanors, Class A misdemeanors, and sexual crimes. We're just trying to set a really low bar to get some cooperation from the Democrats on this issue. I'm not in favor right now of repealing Oregon sanctuary status as a whole. I think that would be a step in the right direction, but I think that this can at least get a little bit of bipartisan support and hopefully start working its way through committee.
So we listed some of those Class A misdemeanors, and speaking of that low bar you mentioned, and those misdemeanors that would fall under this bill, do you think deportation is the answer for someone convicted of something like theft of property over $100? I mean, I think some would argue that's a far different crime than, say, a violent felony.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's a very different crime than a violent felony. I think everyone in this country should be deported if they're illegal. They've already committed a crime. But this law, again, just stipulates a low end of a standard. I don't think that people that are going to be charged with that are actually going to be deported. I mean, usually people that are charged, those charges get dropped down quite a bit. But to be honest, if Democrats want to use that in negotiation and say, how about we lose Class A misdemeanors, I would absolutely be open for that conversation. I'm just trying to get the most heinous of criminals deported from the state of Oregon. I don't think that they should be in Oregon. I don't think they should be in this country. I don't think migrants want them. I don't think the governor should defend them. And that's where I think we should draw the line. If they want to amend the bill to get rid of Class A misdemeanors, that's a compromise I'd be willing to make. But we'll see if they even offer that first.
So let's be real here. Since the Democrats have a supermajority in both the Oregon House and the Senate, and Oregon's Democratic governor would basically have the final say, do you think this bill really has a chance?
It depends how many Democrat co-sponsors we can get on the bill. Depends if we can get it through committee. Depends what committee it's assigned to. All those are still very open questions. I've already been talking to some of the more moderate Democrats I think might be interested in this bill. But let's be honest. I mean, if Democrats aren't going to go for a bill like this, they're going to have to be responsible to their constituents, and they're going to have to explain why they voted no and why they think rapists and murderers should be given sanctuary in the state of Oregon.
So the bill had its first reading today. What's next? Do you expect Democratic leadership in the House to simply sink this?
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty new myself. This is actually my first bill that I've introduced. I'm optimistic, but again, we'll see what committee it gets assigned to. It all depends on that chair, the members of that committee. And like I said, hopefully I can get some Democrat co-sponsors on this as well. That's why I didn't go whole hog and just say that we should drop sanctuary status in its entirety. I don't expect that to get passed, but I think that if we can draw the line somewhere that makes sense. I mean, this is like a 70% issue for the state of Oregon. Most people think that people that commit these crimes should not be given sanctuary. And I think that's a great place to start.
Now, I understand your father immigrated from America, or to America from Greece. Is that right?
Germany, but yes.
So, okay, so you're not far removed from this immigration issue. And this is your first bill that you're sponsoring. So why do you want stricter immigration rules?
I mean, my father's not a violent felon. I mean, he's never murdered anyone. I don't know why anyone would want to defend a murderer or a rapist or anyone and allow them in this country. I don't think, I mean, my father came here legally. We're talking about illegal immigrants. And not only are we talking about illegal immigrants, but we're talking about illegal immigrants that have committed some of the most heinous crimes. This isn't about immigration. This has nothing to do with that, really. This is a crime bill at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now, we reached out to the top 5 Democrats in the House today, since that's where this bill was introduced. None of them were available for an interview today, and none sent us a statement about this bill either. We also asked the governor's office for her take on the bill, since she would be the one to potentially sign it into law if it even made it to her desk. Again, the definition of a long shot. And so far tonight, the governor's office has not gotten back to us. All right, now it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think about reforming Oregon's sanctuary laws? Should they stay the way they are, or do you think there's room for change? Let us know. Email the story at kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090.